Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Azagai here, bringing you another video for Conqueror's Blade, published by Forest Interactive. And we have an update for the PTR. We're going to get a couple of, uh, sorry, we're going to get one weapon adjustment, a couple of unit adjustment, one unit mastery, and of course an adjustment to the Tier 5 Order of the Dragon. Now, for the weapon adjustment, we have Spear. We got some mounted skill adjustment. Left mouse button, thrust at enemy, dealing 160 piercing damage, identical to the previous right mountain button thrust. Does not consume stamina. Right mouse button charges forward a short distance for 2 seconds, dealing 120% piercing damage and knocking back units along the path. Then lunges at enemies ahead to the right, dealing 120% slashing damage and knocking down units. Enemies hit by either the charge or the lunge will have all defenses reduced by 20% for 5 seconds. Charging consumes both hero stamina and mount stamina. Very interesting. While lunging consumes hero stamina. Oh, charging consumes both hero stamina and mount stamina, while lunging consumes just hero stamina. Um, Skill cannot be used if there is insufficient stamina. Mounted charge knocks up all units along the path, cannot be interrupted by obstacles or daze effects. Interesting. When it says daze effects, I'm wondering if it's if it's just daze, or if they actually mean some kind of CC immunity. Not sure if I'll be able to test that extensively, but we will see. Um, Pretty sure when they say knocks up, I think knock up's going to be synonymous now for the term used for throw. Um, that's how I see it, but uh, interesting that the mounted charge specifies units. I wonder how that's going to interact with heroes. That's going to be very interesting to note. See what happens when you hit enemy heroes. And particularly, it would be very, very, very interesting if you would just straight up dismount the chariot with this. Spear skill damage coefficient adjustment. We have Dragon's Roar. Piercing damage coefficient from 58 to 68. Heaven's Fury, piercing damage coefficient 60 to 80. Hurricane's Edge, slashing damage coefficient 53% to 70%. Luge March, slashing damage coefficient 30% to 50%. And Quick Dismount Q, piercing damage coefficient 180 to 200%. Hopefully the crying baby wasn't too annoying for you guys in the back for there. So a bunch of piercing damage and slashing damage coefficients on, I would say, the main skills you would most normally lose. We don't have Recrisis Gift. Interesting that we get a buff to Heaven's Fury. I don't think anyone uses Heaven's Fury in the first place. I think Heaven's Fury needs something rather than just a damage buff. Otherwise, you would need I think a much bigger damage buff than 25% at this point, which is really funny. Like 25% is huge. Do you mind that like you strike like 10 times, I believe? Yeah, I believe it's like 10 times, and it has like a flat bonus of like 11,000. So you're dealing 80 plus 80 plus like 1100 per strike, which I think I think a lot of spears could probably get like 2400. So you could seriously be hitting for 3000 each hit, stabbing, and and you would probably just like one tap someone if you get them in the corner. That's one of the problems because the Heaven's Fury keeps knocking them back, and you can dodge roll out of it. So yeah, Heaven's Fury is just not an ult that like is any good. Um, but yeah, Interesting that Spear is getting kind of a mounted rework. I definitely think you need to do reworks on some of its other skills. Of course, Hurricane's Edge would definitely need like just a damage buff. Luge March is a recovery skill, doesn't really need the damage. Um, uh, Dragon's Roar getting a damage increase. I think this results in something like a extra 50%, so you're dealing like an additional 1,000-ish damage or something in total. So it's like the coefficient's only increased by 10%, but like the damage, the number of times you get damage is only like 5 times or something, 5 or 6 times. I can't remember probably. So you only get like an additional 60% of your piercing damage in total. Well, enough with Spear. Moving on to unit adjustments. We have Queen's Knight. Run them through. Basic duration increased from 3 to 5 seconds after the initial thrust. The unit will seek out a new enemy based on its position and the distance to enemies, initiating another thrust. Consecutive thrusts are not affected by cooldown, but the number of attack targets is reduced by 1, and these thrusts no longer have damage reduction. Interesting, considering that there is no damage reduction effects on run and through. What I believe it's supposed to say is that these thrusts no longer has invincibility. Run and through, for its time, was very strong. Queen's Knight also has a high minimum. They will deal a very high minimum damage, so no matter how much armor damage reduction this a unit has, Queen's Knight will do like 40 odd% of their damage against them, regardless of how much they have. So they hit for like what? 2 and a bit thousand damage. They'll probably still deal like 1,200, maybe 1,100 damage, even if you have over 50% damage reductions or in defenses and stuff. Now, I do want to say that Run 'em Through only has a hit limit of 3. It's higher than its basic attack, which is 2, and higher than their Bash and Thrust ability, which is also 2, but Bash and Thrust has attack, 2 attack cycles, but their Shield Bash is only set to 1, which is really weird. The additional thrust, by the sounds of it, is going to be a 2 hit. Might be slightly better than a basic attack. We're going to have to see. I'm not sure what it means by consecutive thrusts are not affected by cooldown. That probably has to do with, might have to do with the attack timing, but just based on my experience with Queen's Knight, these guys will probably do only 3 thrusts in total over the 5 seconds. And of course, you got the first thrust and then 2 additional thrusts. So the 2 additional thrusts are basically the same as the basic attack. Not a very good buff. Definitely think that Queen's Knight needs some more love than this if they want to hit the meta. I'm pretty sure there's still people that still do really well with them. If you can just get them in a hit and run mode, but they're not supposed to be like that. They're supposed to be more of a brawler type. You get the edge with the running through, because running through is so goddamn powerful. You'd normally like half kill the enemy, and then you just have to finish them off with a good old bash and thrust. But no one uses bash and thrust because bash and thrust is trash. Now we have Madao Battalion. Improved target selection logic for Madao Defense. Not sure what they mean by that. It'll be interesting to see. Madao Defense, number of attack targets plus 1. Madao March, number of attack targets plus 1. Block break plus 150. After Carnage is used, Madao March will be used automatically, triggered once. Very interesting. I definitely think that Madao Battalion needs some more damage, despite me saying that increasing the Madao defense to 5 was a little bit too much. I didn't expect the brace changes to hurt Madao Battalion as much as that did, and maybe I was a little hyperbolic at the time of the last Madao changes. But in the end, they'll still get to that 5 I definitely love to see that Medal, March, and Carnage is not being forgotten this time. So them getting improved as well uh, shows that they understand these abilities' importance. Now, um, the thing here is Carnage will be lacking behind Medal's defense and Medal's march still. Because if I remember correctly, Medal's March and Carnage will both have a hit limit of 3 right now. Medal defense is 4, so this will be 5, 4, and 3. Although Carnage will now automatically activate Medal's March, so we're going to see how fluid that feels. Carnage has this really terrible locking thing where, in order to prevent people from using Carnage, the Carnage charge, and then bracing instantly, they completely locked out the activation of the other skills. So they made it so they deliberately gimped the unit to stop people from abusing an uh, how to say, stopped people from abusing stacking, which is really which is really an issue with just your collision detection thing. Like, again, you just need to figure it. They just need to figure out a way to prevent people from stacking their units so much. But I think they're kind of given up on it, and Medal's just kind of continue to be harmed by like efforts to stop that, even though they've kind of given up stopping people from just stacking up their units. So I think Carnage needs a little bit extra love, but we'll see how well Medal Battalion is with a couple of tests. Not sure if I'll be able to fully think that Medal Battalion is going to hit meta with these changes. I think the brace changes was much much more harsher than I realized. Anyway, we have Claymores for Freedom. Now removes any crowd control effect from the unit when used. So they have recovery now. That is amazing. For Freedom, cooldown reduction from 60 to 45%. The buff duration for Freedom now displays in the hero's status bar. That's an interesting one. So it tells you how long For Freedom is last. For Freedom, and after For Freedom ends, debuff effects are adjusted. Movement speed and attack speed reduced. Task speed reduction changed from 50% to 25%. Wow, big change here. And the damage taken increase changed from 40% to 20%. Big switch around. So instead of a full on mass penalty, you now have half penalty. Um, I definitely do think that For Freedom's penalty was a bit extreme. Um, Definitely do think that you could have toned down For Freedom buffs and kind of gotten rid of the penalties if you thought For Freedom was too powerful. In the in the current balance of things, it's actually quite funny how strong For Freedom is, that it can actually keep Claymores competitive while it's active, but once it ends, it's just a dead unit. So um, I believe Claymores are barely usable now while when you use For Freedom. Oh, I haven't even finished. Claymore Strike skill execute optimized to prevent premature interruption. Claymore Strike skill damage increased by 20%. Wow, 20% increase is pretty big. Claymore Strike, I believe, hits like I did actually before starting this thing. I did a bunch of tests for these things and stuff. Claymore Strikes hit 5 targets per swing. Um, Not particularly a lot of damage, actually. It's only sitting around like 1600, which is quite low, in fact, about the same as the current Doppelsonders. So, with 20% increase should push it probably in the 1800s, maybe. might not be enough, but I think there's definitely a lot more adjustments you can do for the claymores. One of the things I did find very interesting is that the claymore's basic attack, in normal mode, by the way, they have one attack variant that only hits one target, a second attack variant that hits two targets, and a special double attack variant which hits three targets each. So I think homogenizing that to be three targets per attack would be nice. Um, and for Freedom, also very interesting. It has two attack variants which all hit three targets, but it's one of them has two attacks in it, and the other one has three attacks in them. So for Freedom is crazy strong, considering considering its normal mode is just like way better than the normal mode outside of For Freedom. The most painful part about like testing out the claymores and checking it before the PTRs is that rediscovering that Highland Charge only has a hit limit of two. Really poor damage. It only hits for about 2,000 and it only hits two targets. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Um, Actually quite upsetting relearning that. So definitely would need massive buffs on Highland Charge to get that even usable at this point. If anything, you just want to proc the frenzied, the oh god, the special buff thingy. Ooh, I kind of skipped over twice. Now heading over onto our skulls. Skull song duration adjustment. Skull song's previous duration. The first verse lasts 6 seconds, second verse lasts 8 seconds, and third verse lasts 10 seconds. So the new duration is 15, 20, and 25 for first, second, and third verse. So when it says Skull's song, it means the buff duration, not the actual ability, which has its own duration. I think it's a 15-second duration to charge up the whole thing, or was it 20? I can't remember. Um, Haskell's continued new skills, song unending. Song unendings, Skull song is act. While Skull song is active, the unit can perform the war song again to rekindle fading morale, lasting 15 seconds with a 50-second cooldown while Skull song is being cast. Song unending cannot be used. Song unending inherits the recovery effect from the final node of unit training bottom path. Song unending also inherits the effect of the unit's trait tag Heim's War Song. The effect of Heim's War Song during Skull's Song is adjusted while Skull's Song is active. They are inspired and damage taken is reduced by 40%. So we're flipping this around. Instead of a 50% damage increase, it's going to be a damage decrease, 40% now, which is massive. A 40% damage reduction effect plus all of the other damage effects because you got Skull Songs, which adds damage reduction. I think it's like 20% at level 3. And I think they also have a bunch of nodes which also add damage resistance. I think you get like 12 to melee, um, 12 to range, and I think you can get like 10 to cavalry, or was it a 10% cavalry increase? I don't remember, but like there's a bunch of nodes that can get like even less damage. So you could, while singing, you could be really tanky, just really tanky, absurdly tanky. The recovery effect from the final node of unit training bottom path is adjusted to restore 1% max health over 20 seconds. Now, I think that's a mistake. I think it's supposed to say 1% max health per second for 20 seconds. Um, but we'll have to kind of see what actually happens. Any increased damage taken effect during Skull Song is removed. So, um, if I remember correctly, the along with the healing, you had a 20% damage increase while using Scald's Song. I believe it's saying that it removes Scald's Song and changing the healing effect from 0.5% over 20 seconds to not 0.5% per second for up to 20 seconds to 1% over 20 seconds. So I know it's what it's written there, but like, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. What they actually meant is probably 1% per second, um, up to 20 seconds, or for 20 seconds. So there could be a little bit of clarification of whether or not you have to be singing Scal's song for the whole 20 seconds, or whether or not you could sing a part of Scal's song and then heal for the next 20 seconds for 1%. So that would be interesting. The slow effect from the final node of unit training middle path is adjusted to 6%, and the stun effect is at full stack is adjusted to 2 seconds. So that is more CC, kind of. Uh, it's just more CC. Improve target acquisition logic for Boar Snout, Gathering Storm, Sea Surge, and Huskull's Charge, allowing the Huskulls to move more effectively toward targets for attacks. Um, well, not particularly sure what this probably means. We're going to have to just see it in action, kind of compare it to what we remember or experience on the live server. Normal attack interval decreased by 28%. Now, could be a well, this is a big increase. This is like increasing the attack by, I think, roughly about 40-ish%. So their normal attacks are actually quite weak. Only a hit limit of 1 with their axe attacks and 2 with their shield attacks. Huskulls are not particularly good in normal mode, no matter how you look at it. Even while enhanced, they get a special double attack mode. Still, it's just each axe attack is only 1/1. Each shield bash is 2, and it's not dealing that much damage. Only about 700 and 1500 for the shield bash and axe respectively. Definitely do think you could like increase the damage by 50% on either of those attacks. It's or a +1 as well. Plus one, actually no. You have to have a +1. There's no way you can leave it at such a low hit limit, considering every other unit has much higher hit limits, or to say the very least. Adding on to that, the damage is also really incredibly low, so definitely need to that also increase the damage slightly. Probably get the axe attack up to about 2,000 shield bashes, can stay low at probably 1,000, 1,100-ish. Continuing on, we have the unit mastery adjustment. Landsnails get a general adjustment of improve the phalanx and wedge formation. Soldiers are now positioned more closely together when formed up. Improved formation behavior for phalanx and wedge. After forming up, soldiers will automatically enter brace halberd states. Increase battle charge duration from 6 to 8 seconds. Mastery nodes are Node 1 plus 180 health, Node 2 plus 50 slashing defense, Node 3 plus 210 health, Node 5 plus 50 piercing defense. Node. Did I say Node 5 twice? Node 5 now, Halberd Master. That's going to be the title of this one. Stab and Hook no longer interrupts Brace Halberd's battle charge and similar actions. I don't know what similar actions would mean in this case. What would be similar actions? Forming up? Formation? Gonna have to play around with that. For 10 seconds after using Stab and Hook, the next attack will deal extra damage equal to 8% of the target's current health and inflict a slow effect. Interesting. So we're not. So So after using stab and hook, their next attack will deal extra damage and inflict another slow on the target. Would be interesting to see if these slows stack, because I know stab and hook also has a slow on it. So if their next attack also slows again, that'd just be really hilarious. Um, so node 6 is plus 200 damage dealt to melee targets, and node 7 plus 150 damage taken from melee units. Node 8 skilled control during stab and hook. Its special attack can trigger up to 2 additional times. Um, all is good and all. Unfortunately, I think kind of suffers from the classic. Um, I don't have a very high hit limit. If I remember correctly, Lance Nets are a very old unit now from Snowstorm, and they only have a hit limit of 1 for most of their attacks. Their unit veterancy allows them to get a +1 for their charge and a +1 or a +1 for their brace. So you have to choose. Now, Stab and Hook also has only has a hit limit of 1. It's fast, however, so you can have them attack and then use Stab and Hook for an instant hit, but it only hits once, which is always just very interesting. But it's fast. It's almost like an instant activation kind of thing. You don't even need to wait for the animation because now that's how fast the animation is. If I wanted these guys to be to kind of be relevant at all, you would need to give them a +1 to all of their attacks just to kind of stabilize them in their role. The only problem here now is that they also get a +1 in their veterancy, which could cause some issues. And I mean, I'd be all for it just to have it cause issues. It's such an old unit, no one uses it really. Even the battle, even the battle charge, you go for the line that make buffs it. You're basically like not even as strong as a prefecture pike. Uh, yeah, no, you're not even. You're either as strong or weaker than Prefecture Pikeman, which is funny because originally Landsnakes had a stronger charge than Prefecture Pikeman. But Prefecture Pikeman not only has a stronger charge, has a better follow-up because it has increased block break as well. Nothing to do about increased block break here, but these guys do really terribly against shields. So there's that as well. Prefecture Pikemen will have a little bit better against shield with their follow-up attack, but that's still to be seen. Still to be seen. We'll test out, see how these guys work out. But no way around it. I think probably a +1 is the best way to buff these guys properly. And as I said before, I don't like these. I don't like these flat damage nodes. These flat damage nodes or conditional nodes, I don't particularly like. It's a wide, it's a wide selection melee units. It's not as bad, but um, you can then make up for their weakness against cavalry with doctrines. They'll still be super weak to range though. Pole armed unit, they'll just get shot to pieces. So there's that as well. And finally, we have Order of the Dragon. Some adjustment to Order of the Dragon. So Order of the Dragon is going to get an increased units turn speed, decrease Sacred Verdict damage by 10%, optimize Sacred Verdict's targeting range. Now the unit will cancel animation earlier to execute an attack, update the indicator style during Emperor's Expedition, adjusted the camera rules during uh, Emperor's Expedition. When the mouse is moved vertically, the camera will tilt. When the mouse is moved horizontally, the camera will remain upright. The center position of the unit will always stay at the edge opposite of the mouse's direction, providing better visibility towards the target direction. Fix an issue where targets during Sacred Verdict would sometimes not gain control immunity. So, couple of adjustments, well, they're all adjustments. Losing damage is not a problem. Sacred Verdict does so much damage. It's not it's not an issue to lose 10%. Uh, the the most important thing is that they've fixed the control immunity thing. So I'm thinking that Sacred Verdict's going to be way more harder to stop than it previously was. It was very easy to stop before, but now it'd probably be harder. If they fix the optimization for the targeting range and stuff, and they hit as they collide, or as they're about to collide, that'll be really good because a lot of people kind of been complaining, well, no, just me, about complaining about how they struggle to hit their initial target because they would blitz past them because of how slow it was. When the unit not being centered during Emperor's Expedition is also very interesting because I didn't actually have an issue with not having like super long visibility, but changing from like third person to top down could um, definitely does have its issues. So getting that extra visibility is going to be really interesting. So playing around with that will be cool. I still want some collision damage to come in. I'm hoping they don't make the unit just phase through everything. I definitely do think phasing needs to be removed, but unfortunately, a lot of units, and mostly cavalry, has phasing, so they will ghost right through everything. But Order of the Dragons right now don't have any collision damage. Um, Besides, after attacking in normal mode, they'll have collision damage for a brief amount of time. Does cause knockdown occasionally. It's not certain. Um, I hope they continue to adjust Order of the Dragon. They still have time. Mm, no adjustments, and it doesn't look like they have any adjustments for the tier 4. Um, so that is so far. I think the tier 4 is going to be locked in at its current adjustment for now, which might end up being a little bit weaker than people would want, but it's still in a good spot for most of the balance. I think in for tier 4 lock, it's going to be very cool to use them, and it's going to be fairly strong compared to a lot of the other units, as long as you're not considering to just face off against Stalwart 99% of the time. Um, I definitely love that there's a bunch of other units now being hit with this unit adjustment, and I hope they continue to adjust units in the future. Now, um, this will be also another weapon adjustment for this season. Last season we got Pike. Not very many adjustments happened during last season, especially not the way we wanted them to. So I want Spear to get some more love for their base skills. The mounted skills makes their mounted ability even stronger, and they are the best mounted weapon after Glaive now. So we'll see if these mounted changes puts them back on top. Hopefully it does. I definitely don't think letting Glaive take the supreme mounted weapon, the title of like uh, master of the mount, away from Spear. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Sorry about a couple of the noise interruptions. Maybe you guys didn't hear it. I'm not sure how well that's going to pick up. But other than that, my name is Esuke. Have a nice day. Bye for now.